for it to go live. We're live! Hello, live! We probably had that kind of weird thing going from her. Good afternoon! We've got to review that chaotic Azerbaijan GP. And as always, at the start of a video, Stephen will stall while I tweet.
To the F1 podcast.
Oh no, wrong Twitter account. Panic! It's not an Indie Fanatics video.
Calm down. Well, we review the terrible Baku Grand Prix. Probably the worst race I've ever seen in my 70 years of watching F1.
God, you're older than I thought. 70 years of watching F1,
Yeah,
eh?
sorry, 71
Hello,
years.
Carola.
Oh,
Azerbaijan GP live stream review.
Nice. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. If you're watching this not live, hope you're also doing well. And make sure to hit that like button. Because if you don't, then who is?
I'm here. I'm ready. I'm so ready to go for this. Azerbaijan GP review. Are you ready?
Could you move up a little bit?
No.
I feel like I'm squashed in.
But are you ready? Are you ready for it?
No.
Are you ready?
No.
Checo! Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez. Woo! No, we're not buzzing that Sergio Perez secured his first win. Red Bull till I die. I'm Red Bull till I die.
It's not his first win. He's already won one.
Yeah, first win for Red Bull is what I mean. Gutted for Max, but loved that podium. I will describe it as the FU podium. I'll explain that as we go on later into the review. Oh, Infinite's here. Oh, no. He's come to defend Bottle Job Hamilton. God,
I can't say anything. You're the only one that can attack us both. Because both our drivers...
And you know who did well? Fernando. Whoa, Fernando.
If I'm fully on your team today.
Alonso.
Screw this guy.
Team Alonso. Woo! I don't know what this review is so far. It's just me coming up with loads of chants for it.
Hello, Katie. Hello, Craig.
Seb Vettel. Number two. On the podium. Stuff you, Ferrari. Pierre!
Should we start our rundown?
Yeah, I think
you got any more chance you got to shout at us?
Don't know. No, I think that's it. Really, at the moment.
You sure?
Kimi scores his first points of the season. Kimi! It's the Kimi moment of the week. Yeah, because he got that other one kicked off of him. I might take Hamilton's spot after that lockup. Whoa, jeez. We still have a title fight this year. We do. Oink.
Hey, Gianni.
Have you turned into a pig, Craig? Hey, Johnny, think someone a bit happy and hyper. I just, it was an exciting race. What a race. Who said that it would be the battle of the number twos? And, what I meant was it would be Checo's race. And it was actually, a very good race for Bottas because he beat Hamilton.
Solid.
So, race of the number twos, eh?
Bottas beat Lewis.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that. But what a performance from Valtteri Bottas. Getting the upper hand on Lewis Hamilton.
Who knew that Bottas would have a button installed on Lewis Hamilton's steering wheel that had easy access that could turn off the brakes?
Yes.
He's like, you may have the rear wing this weekend, Lewis, but I have the magic button.
Yeah. So, you know what they say? If Lewis has a bad week, you got to capitalise. And Bottas did exactly that.
Absolutely. Bottas capitalised. He gained exactly 0 points on him.
Big games
this weekend.
Big games.
Big games.
Big games.
How was Gio's qualifying performance? Made up the most places in the Grand Prix.
I'm really disappointed. No one crashed in the castle. That was the whole part of our preview. Was who was going to crash into the castle?
Yeah, absolutely. Whoever said no one, which I don't think anyone said no one.
Bloody hell.
It's because they took out the curb.
Yeah, bastards.
Can't believe them.
Someone could have just gone, I'll take one for the team and drill it into the castle.
Yeah.
No one did
boy.
that.
Charlie boy. Unbelievable. Look, Infinite has to clutch at straws, doesn't he? How was qualifying performance? How were Hamilton's brakes?
Jeez.
Cool. Capitalise on the, his title rival through no fault of his own has a tyre failure. And then Hamilton, God, bottle job. Hey, bottle job. Lewis, bottle job. Hamilton, Sir Bottle Job.
Wow.
Love Lewis.
Can I start the rundown?
Lewis is yeah, let's start the rundown before I get myself cancelled.
Let's start with Williams. Russell DNF'd at the end.
Yeah.
You have no idea why?
No, sorry. Steve, to confirm by this
I
stage,
didn't watch the sprint race at the end.
No, Stephen hasn't watched it because as soon as Max's tyre blowout, when Paul di Resta went, I don't want to jinx it, and then his tyre blows out, Stephen literally was like, I'm done. I'm done with F1.
I'm not going to watch whatever's left.
I'm full on IndyCar. F1's cancelled.
Screw it.
But yeah, not sure. He did the formation lap and then
he drove into the pits.
Yeah.
And then Latifi, I saw he was under investigation for one of those last laps. What did he do? Because he ended up finishing dead last. Any idea?
It was just meh. I think he maybe had an extra pit stop.
I said Williams should be okay in the preview, but it turns out they were just bad.
I think no one kind of. I didn't really pay attention to the back. I know that Haas at the end there was a bit of trouble between Mick and Nikita.
Nikita nearly put Mick into the wall.
I
think was it that way around?
Yeah, he pretty much.
On
the last lap trying to defend the place. I mean, yeah, I suppose some people were saying Mick trying to overtake Nikita Mazepin on the last lap for like P17, 18 when there's no points on the line.
It was head-to-head battles,
but it was easy.
It's your head-to-head battles.
Well, absolutely. You want to beat your teammate. That's your yardstick.
Yeah.
And he did do that. Conor Willis, you think George will get to round up winnings, get a better seat next year? I hope so, because it's really difficult to judge how good George Russell is at the moment. We all think and feel that he's this top talent.
Yeah.
But every year that he's in a Williams, you go...
It's another year someone else shows off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon.
Seeing 4-2 to Lewis in qualifying in the inferior car, especially this weekend. Yeah, but you don't score any points on a Saturday.
Infinite. I said I was on your team this week. I was like, screw this guy. But now I'm fully on board with Bottle Job, Sir Bottle Job Lewis.
Right. Who's winning the France GP? We'll get to that in the preview. We're talking about this Azerbaijan race.
This is a review preview.
Is it? Is it France next weekend?
I swear it's not France next weekend.
It can't be France next weekend because
otherwise we're going to have to speed up. 18th of June. No, we're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. So Russell Latifi, 16th, 17th. They always struggle when it's windy, and it was quite windy in Baku, so maybe that was their struggles. Lewis Hamilton, a mighty P15 there.
Oh, so you want to talk about Mercedes next?
Well, they're at the back. Who else am I going to talk about?
Lewis Hamilton, has to be said. The Mercedes didn't look with it all weekend. He did a fantastic job to qualify where it did. He held on to the Red Bulls throughout the race, but it looked like he was going to get damage limitation with Max winning, Checo P2, and Lewis P3. And I thought that was probably the best that Mercedes could have hoped for at the end. But he should have capitalised when it was... Wow. It seems weird that there's this switch. It's not as simple as switch, turn off brakes. But Yeah, it obviously did something that aided him to lock up, but he really went for it.
Well, it's to help his race starts. So you can just go full on at the race start, but obviously he kept it down going into the first corner.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't have any brakes.
And a rare mistake from Lewis Hamilton. I can't remember the last time that he made such a glaring, obvious error in a title battle, which proves that Max Verstappen is getting under his skin and we've got a proper title fight on our hands, because I think if that was Valtteri Bottas who was leading and had that crash out from the lead with a tyre blowout, I think Lewis Hamilton wouldn't have even really fought that hard for first. I felt he thought he needed the first.
Yeah, and he fluffed it, finishing an incredible P15. Hello, Motormaker.
Hello, Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Bottas, I think the guy, he seemed peed off all weekend. He didn't get the aero wing that made the Mercedes even worse, more than Monaco, because remember, Hamilton had streamlined.
So Bottas finished P12.
Yeah, which didn't help him. And he just looked a sitting duck out there. But there's a clip circulating on social media of him losing 4 places in like 2 corners. I think it was.
At the start of the race.
But he just didn't fight it.
Well, that's Bottas, though.
I know it is Bottas, but this even seemed an extreme that he's just like, I don't care.
But they didn't have the aero package. You don't know how much of a difference that made.
No, but
we saw Lewis struggle.
That's what I mean. Yeah. I feel he's just like, I'm pissed. I'm pissed off. I don't want to be here anymore.
Mercedes are done with him. He's done with Mercedes.
Because it isn't just Bottas, because we all know that Bottas isn't necessarily the greatest in wheel-to-wheel and he struggles making his way through traffic, right? But this clip, it's almost like it's just passive. Like when they're trying to overtake him, he's just like, yeah, go on then.
Go on. Go on, lads.
There is no attempt. There's no real attempt to defend him.
Yeah.
Or trying to fight for the position. So I think he's just broken.
Do you think Mercedes get rid of halfway? Do you think it's going to be that bad? That Mercedes going
depends how desperately they want the Constructors' Championship. Because if Bottas races the entire season, I don't think they get the Constructors' Championship.
Because if you think, if it was a Red Bull 1-2, that's a massive game Red Bull would have got. Well, even they got a game of 25 points. Anyway, but even with Max and Checo, I presume it would have been more. Oh, yeah, it'd be like 3 points more. But still, yeah, they need him to be in that fight, and he's not in that fight. So he could be the cost of Mercedes and their constructors.
And that's what you get paid for.
Because Lewis is probably still favourite to get the drivers. Yeah. But it's the constructors that Red Bull can really attack Mercedes for. So there we go.
And if they do that, they'll want the Drivers' Championship, but if they can get constructors, that would be huge. I think,
massive,
for Red Bull.
Massive.
Absolutely huge to stop the Mercedes dominance.
Moving on to Haas, P13, P14 for Mick and Mazepin.
I think we kind of mentioned their race in that instant between Mick and Nikita. I think that was pretty much the race.
Yeah, Mazepin ran wide at one point, which put him a lap down. And then, at the end, Mick pipping him to the line. Not really much to say. Nothing. Sorry, is Katie here? I wasn't going to say a nothing team. Haas, they're great. Gary, it's great. Moving on. To Alfa Romeo and to Antonio Giovinazzi in P11. Go on. Let's hear your Giovinazzi praise.
Had a fantastic start. Making up for a terrible qualifying,
it's going to take a while, this one.
But a lot of people went from there. Was one of the guys who pitted very early for the hard compound tyre. And I believe that's the case why under safety car, they pitted him for a new set of softs, which then put him behind Raikkonen because he'd got ahead of Raikkonen on the undercut. I thought Giovinazzi had a decent race, but I thought Kimi Raikkonen had a decent race. I thought it was a good return for Alfa Romeo this weekend, considering where their car is, which now that AlphaTauri have stronger circuits again, is literally no man's land. It's comfortably better than Williams and Haas, but it's nowhere near anybody else.
Yes, I was expecting more. I was expecting more.
No,
Gio
I just think
the
that's
man did the talking on track.
right. He made up like 5 places. I know it was like Williams and Haas, but he overtook them all.
I feel
by
like
the
he made up
first lap.
7 places on the first lap.
No, 7 places. I believe he made up overall. Well, actually, no, it would have
he
been
made
more.
up 9 places.
Yeah,
I swear he
overall.
made up 7 on the first lap, or maybe the first couple of laps.
No, I'm
It was
pretty
so
sure
ridiculous like that.
But yeah, it was crazy. Any hot picks for the fantasy in France? We'll talk about fantasy more
Next week,
and obviously the review tomorrow as well. But we've got time at the end of the review to do that. Otherwise, you know what, like, we'll get sidetracked and distracted from there.
Katie confirmed all I have to say about Haas is Gary is great. So
Nice.
that'll
Happy
be
days.
my future Haas report.
Gary is great. Gary Gannon. But I agree. Alfa Romeo, I thought they had a pretty solid race for what they are, because they are, just in this weird place in Formula One.
We keep saying it. They're better than Haas and Williams, but just they haven't made a big enough jump to challenge for those points positions. And they got lucky this week with retirements to get Nick a point with Kimi.
Yep.
But
both strong races from both drivers, I thought.
Very strong. A great recovery from Gio to get P11. Unlucky, just to miss out on points.
And before the red flag, in fairness, Kimi might have got ahead of Alonso on track. They wouldn't have got the points, obviously.
Yes, because Kimi was all over the back of Alonso, wasn't he?
They both were on the back of that Alpine. So that was a positive for them racing-wise. Anyway.
Any comments in chat?
I don't think so at the moment. Don't think so. After this weekend, if you was Toto, do you keep Bottas and risk losing constructors or bring someone else in? If it was me, Bottas would be gone now. Yeah, I think that's what we said to Mercedes. We would get rid of. I think you lose the constructors. I think Bottas is just gone. I think mentally he's broken.
If Checo builds on this win and starts putting in consistent P3, P4, then Mercedes have got to switch. Because by
the halfway stage, it might even be too late.
Yeah.
Be honest with you. If Bottas keeps going how it's been going. But we know that these tracks didn't suit the Mercedes.
Yes, yeah.
So we've got to see where they go from there. Take out Valtteri, put in Albon. Well, at least, mate, he would be able to get some more consistent podiums for you.
Sorry, would he? Would he, though?
Probably not.
Come on, who's better, Albon or Valtteri Bottas? Come on.
It should be Bottas. But I honestly don't know.
Craig's got an Albon.
But hello, Sam O'Gara. Hello, welcome to the chat. Are we next team? Is it McLaren?
Look, we got one for Albon, one for Bottas. Yes, McLaren. Into the points we go. Daniel Recovery.
Well, it kind of is a recovery, isn't it? He's been having a torrid time recently, and he needed that point.
P9, 2 points. Got knocked out in Q2 again, didn't he? Yep.
Didn't make it to Q3. Didn't he get affected by the last red flag?
I don't know. Wasn't there?
I think it was. No. As in, he got affected in qualifying Q2. There were so many red flags.
Everyone did.
Yeah.
Everyone did.
Yeah, Ericsson did it, David.
Out of nowhere. Unbelievable. He's gone to IndyCar.
And he's still affecting F1 races.
It's ridiculous. He's got to go. Daniel Ricciardo, solid, going to the points, lucky with retirements. Bada bing, bada boom, 2 points for Ricciardo.
Oh, Gio hit him in the second start. Didn't realise that. Go on,
yes, I saw. Did you just say, go on, Gio?
I was just, just a bit hard racing, isn't it?
He survived and he came for your points. Yes, anything more to say on Ricciardo? We're still waiting to see the best of him.
I think he's just still adapting to the car. He's still growing. I think it's quite a change in systems from the and power unit as well. because he's only driven Renault power units throughout the entirety of his life. And the power units are quite a different transition, I believe, in Formula One to kind of get used to.
Well, yeah, different setups and stuff.
Yeah, I think Josh said Spa, I think, last week in chat, and I think that's probably a fair assessment. Give him half a season before you start being too harsh on him. Don't
think he'll bounce back at Paul Ricard? Didn't he have quite a decent race there in 2019?
Yeah, but, he's had decent races at Monaco. I don't think...
True.
I just don't think, for whatever reason, he's happy in himself within that car at the moment.
Okay, fair enough.
I just think it's still taking some time. It's all about Team Lando, and Lando, after the 3-place grid penalty, a very good P5.
P5. He had a bit of... He didn't have the best race. Okay, P5 is... You look at P5, you go...
It flatters to deceive.
Yes, you go, oh, that's actually a fantastic drive by Lando. But he really struggled, I felt, throughout the whole race. And kind of through retirement, with the late red flag, he managed to climb up into P5. I think he really struggled. What I was saying in the preview, I thought McLaren were actually going to smash it. But they struggled all weekend. And in the race, I felt they had a pretty bad race, but somehow got a P5 out of it.
Alan, Mazepin driver of the day, in my opinion. Unbelievable. There's always one in chat, the Joker in chat. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Ferrari definitely had the beating. I believe Sainz probably would have beaten him if he hadn't have had that lockup.
Yes. But you're skipping ahead to Ferrari. We're not on Ferrari yet because, I guess we were nearly at Ferrari. We're going to Alpine next.
Okay.
Because poor Esteban Ocon had to retire.
Was it a power unit issue?
On like the second lap or something. No, it wasn't quite the second lap. I don't know, actually. Car problems.
His car didn't work no more, mate. So he couldn't drive it.
We never really got a report.
It no goes room no more.
I haven't watched Ted's.
No, but Stephen wanted to kind of scourge the memory of
it. Never happened. Baku never happened.
It never happened. It never happened. So you're unfortunately stuck with me for the rundown. But Ocon, yeah, I think Alpine could have had both very good finishes amongst that chaos. If he was in that mix,
he had a decent race start.
They could have had a double strong finish, I think.
Yeah, but Fernando, come on now. Big up your man, P6.
Brilliant taking advantage of the situation to maximise the result, using the experience. A race is never over to it. During the race, he didn't have the same pace that he showed in qualifying. It was a fantastic qualifying to get through to Q3. But he kind of was drifting, flirting. He wasn't really in it at all. Was he around P12, P11 before I think the red flag came out? It was somewhere around there. And then brilliant on the restart. And I think there's his overtake on Yuki Tsunoda, I believe it is, at the end of the race, is balls of steel. Fantastic. Brilliant. Showed all his experience, all his guile, and almost revenge for Yuki in Bahrain. All the hype. This was a kind of very, very good overtake on a street circuit. And, he, again, is another one slowly getting better and better each race in terms of adapting to the car. And, Ocon will be frustrated because he knows that he's got a tough battle within the team with Fernando Alonso. And it could have been another one that he kept pressure on. He might have been the one to maybe take advantage on. But instead, Fernando gains in confidence. And it was good. It's just good to see Fernando Alonso enjoying his racing and doing a fantastic job.
Hello, Jonty. I saw but they haven't done the full investigation yet, Preddy, I don't think. The initial thing is debris.
Hello, Jonty.
Debris.
Yeah. So I believe Nando was as good as what the car was. I don't think the Alpine car was good. But obviously, when you're only racing over the 2-lap sprint race, the aerodynamics and the quality of the car is where the grid is most even. So you saw the quality of Fernando Alonso shine through.
Yeah.
in terms of being able. What did he make up? 6 spaces? Because he started. I'm pretty sure he was
Overall?
12. I'm pretty sure he made up 6 spaces in those 2 laps. So,
Oh, sorry, at the restart.
yeah. Oh, he would only made up 2 spaces because he started from like P8 or P9,
P9
something like that. And go from there. Debris cause 3, rear left, go pop. I'm quite skeptical. Absolutely. Tyre issues are nothing new. Goodyear in the 80s, Bridgestone in the noughties, and then Pirelli now. Every 20 years, it seems. Yeah. Then I think F1 are very complex in what they go. And as Alex Palou says, you know, if you're going to choose a race tyre, you should choose Firestone.
That is, of course, what the IndyCar drivers drive. Firestone tyres.
Woo! But that's
so
probably covers Alpine.
Enough Fernando Lovin?
Yeah, I think that's enough Fernando Lovin. I think he did a fantastic job. P10 to P6, Mike. Okay,
Ferrari.
Cheers, David. But still, 4 places in like 2 laps was very good.
Ferrari, Sainz, stop! He didn't stop. He just kept going, and then that was his race. But came home in P8.
It was his worst weekend for Ferrari so far. And that's not trying to be harsh on Carlos. I think he's been fantastic. But he had, after Yuki crashed, bring out a red flag, he also had issues in qualifying.
Oh, yes, in qualifying, yeah.
Didn't he crash there? And then had that lock-up, which kind of basically ruined his hard tyres. In fairness, he's done well to get P8 out of it.
Well, he's one of the ones that are fortunate from the retirements, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But he's still done well going through there. Tyres too cold for Sainz. Yeah, but he just, hey, it happens.
To be fair, he was, because Ferrari took the big gamble of going for the setup that maximised speed but didn't do much for the tyres. So...
And then that obviously cost Carlos Sainz. And it could have been a very good return for Ferrari again in that P3 battle. But as it turns out, recovering to 8, still finishing ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, it still turned out to be a better race for Ferrari than McLaren.
They still outscored McLaren, yeah.
So they're still going well in the 3rd championship. And it was a weird one, how those drivers who had been struggling, like the Vettel, Alonso, Ricciardo's, they obviously had better races, and it was Sainz's worst race.
Yeah,
as it went.
Well, just because of one mistake.
Yeah,
but Baku punishes you for that one mistake.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know that is street circuits.
Yeah,
there are no margins for error. Like I think they said on commentary, you know, if he was at one of the modern circuits, there would have been a runoff space, and he wouldn't really have lost too much. And he
would have lost nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. But
there we go.
Unfortunately, that was the issue. Instead, he ended up behind Gio. What an overtake of the race.
Woo! He went on the inside of a tight turn. Gio flying, just sent it.
Sam, we have heard that bit of commentary. That was brilliant. Well, I have. Have you heard the Channel 4 commentary? Mark Webber, basically, Alex Jakes, when the restarts happened, he's getting all the hype. Oh my God, and Lewis has made it. And then Mark Webber's gone, ah! Or something in the background. There's just this high pitched scream. It's almost like, you know, when like putting like goat gifs whenever I go, yes. That was pretty much Mark Webber. That was pretty much Mark Webber in reaction to it. So that was brilliant. But Leclerc
P4. Obviously, he couldn't convert pole to win, but it was never likely with the setup Ferrari were going for. The tyres, you have to look after the tyres to win a race. But the Ferrari setup was always going to be a challenge. P4, very solid return though for Leclerc. Pips McLaren in points taken from Baku. Decent job. Decent drive.
Again,
didn't really see much of him because he was kind of helpless to being overtaken by Lewis and Max.
Almost got on the podium at the end as well. He was fighting Pierre Gasly wheel to wheel, but Gasly was having none of it. He still go for now. Gasly beat Leclerc in a straight fight. Well, yeah, I think Gasly was superb wheel to wheel. I think Charles maximised what he could have got out of that Ferrari, but there was a chance for a podium. But Gasly said no.
Gasly said no.
But pole position again.
Incredible.
Superb.
But it was another red flag.
And Ferrari got it right, didn't they? They got it right. What happens? Don't crash the guy who got pole position this time. Crash the guy who isn't on pole. Then you don't have to worry about losing it.
It is.
Congratulations,
it's really nice to
Ferrari.
see improvements in internal strategy.
You have to tip your cap to Ferrari's strategy. Yeah. Unbelievable.
People say they're a joke, but these guys are smart.
Absolutely. They don't make the same mistake twice in 2 races.
Yeah, they developed an improved red flag qualifying strategy. They're the best. They're simply the best at it.
Simply the best.
You can't argue with their results. 2 poles from 2.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. Red flag, red flag. Hello, Ollie in chat.
Hello.
Put those tinfoil hats away. No, they will remain firmly placed on. It's a conspiracy. Grazie. I think that's 5 goes from there at the moment. Going to see how many you do before the season ends. 5 goes. Not sure.
5. We got a not sure on that comment. Shall we move on to AlphaTauri? Yuki Tsunoda's best race?
Yes, but the AlphaTauri came into its own this weekend. It looked an incredibly strong car. And
like
so,
we all thought was going to happen from testing.
If Tsunoda didn't get a strong points finish, it would have been disappointing.
Well, I feel like it's hard. You got to give praise to Yuki. He's been struggling all year. And to pull it together in Baku.
Yeah, it's a difficult race to go in, but he needed to.
He's a rookie.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get everything, but you also are an F1 driver.
Okay.
As I believe, I think it was discussed. I think they were saying, talking about Albon, Mark Webber and David Coulthard when Channel 4 had the British Grand Prix commentary last year.
Okay.
F1's not a finishing school. You're meant to be the finished article when you get there.
Oh, fair enough.
Obviously, you grow and develop in F1. Absolutely. But when the car is there, you've got to perform.
Okay.
And he did. So it's a congratulations for Yuki.
Let's get a clap.
It's a congratulations
for Yuki.
But Pierre!
Yeah.
Incredible. 3rd podium since leaving Red Bull. What a guy.
What a guy. My guy.
Pierre. Backwards cap Pierre. I think Aldas was going on about that on Twitter, about backwards cap Pierre is different level.
P3.
Look, Pierre's doing a really great job this season, isn't he? And he does what you do when you're in a midfield team. When the chances come, you maximise. He's doing what the likes of Sergio Perez did when he was with Force India and Racing Point. When the opportunity arises, they capitalise and they get a podium. So it's just hats off to him.
Yeah.
Backward hats off to him.
Backward hats off to him. So he gets a hats off, but Yuki only gets a clap.
Well, because Pierre was much better than Yuki. He held off Charles Leclerc in wheel-to-wheel battle at the end, even though Leclerc got the better start on him. And
Yuki lost it to Alonso.
He almost got pole. Yuki stuffed Pierre getting pole.
Oh, but
on the
what's Yuki going to do? Slow down?
Yeah.
On a flying lap?
Absolutely.
No.
He should know. He's already in the top 10.
Well, they hadn't done a lap that. That was their only lap. He would have been 10th. He would have been behind Valtteri Bottas.
Struggle sit. That would have been an easy overtake. He's overtaken world champions this year. Hello from Colombia. Should Mercedes come back in France GP? Yeah, I think they will. I think Mercedes will jump back. I said that the restart. Keep an eye on Pierre when Crofty was saying, watch Seb on the new soft tyres. How many podiums is that now, Christian? 3! And he's got all 3 positions, hasn't he? Because he got a P2 in Brazil, P1 in Monza, Now P3 and Baku.
Yeah, well done, Pierre. You've done the hat trick.
He can now
The
have a lot
podium
of
hat trick.
grandpas can count. All right, Infinite. Hey, come on, calm your salt down over there. Hey, pick up those Lewis tears and put them in a tissue. Hey.
Aston Martin next. Let's start with poor Lance Stroll, a victim of Pirelli debris or incompetence from Pirelli. We'll find out in the investigation. But yeah,
well, they're never going to.
When it happens,
they're never going to come back and go, you know what, guys?
We're incompetent.
We are incompetent. Sack us now.
Please sack us.
Please sack us. And
I
think credit for Lance Stroll. I thought he was doing a very good job.
Yes. And when it happened, I said he hasn't got a very good relationship with Pirelli's. Because think back to Mugello, where he suffered a very similar tyre failure.
He's like, I'm getting fed up of these high-speed accidents. I'm getting fed up of it.
If Lawrence isn't the one banging on Pirelli's door going, it's not good enough. I don't know. His son, his little kid, has been hurt by Pirelli, not once, but twice.
I'm very angry. This unacceptable, Pirelli. But on a serious note, as much as it makes for entertaining races for us as fans, all right. 2, and obviously we'll come on to Max's as well, but as we're talking about Lance's, 2 tyre failures, and obviously they had 3 tyre failures in Silverstone last year?
Yeah.
Silverstone was more okay because it wasn't really at high speeds and there wasn't any crashes that resulted in those.
Well, and the race leader still won.
Yeah, and at 200 miles an hour, right, they're really lucky in the way that they crashed.
Mm.
And they're really lucky in the safety. It only took... Imagine if Lance's tyre blowout, he was following someone. He goes out, takes out 2 cars and goes into the catch fence.
Imagine if it was I guess the pit lane exits built in a way that you wouldn't go flying down the pit lane.
But yeah, car safety is incredible. Absolutely Infinite. They have brought it on so well in recent years. But yeah,
I still think they got lucky. Lucky in Baku.
When you crash at 200 mile an hour, as much as the safety procedures, and that's the same obviously with IndyCar when they ride on ovals at over 200 mile an hour. If you have big crashes and the drivers, and there is an element of luck to it because it only takes a slight different angle,
exactly.
a slight kind of takeoff, get into the catch fence for things to go wrong, and it could have been a very bad day for F1. But thankfully, both Stroll and Max were okay.
Yep.
But he was doing fantastic. Unfortunately, robbed. We don't know how well a performance it would have been because both him and Seb were doing brilliant.
Yeah. It would have been a very strong weekend for Aston Martin.
It would have been.
A weekend you ripped them off last week, but
I did.
They came bouncing back.
They did.
With not just a strong potential performance from Lance Stroll, but a P2 from Sebastian Vettel.
He's finished. He's done. He's overrated.
The 4th different team he stood on the podium with.
Toro Rosso, Red Bull, Ferrari, and now Aston Martin, the first in their history, I believe. Because I don't believe Aston Martin in their original form in Formula One ever got on the podium. So superb from Seb. And that's a little bit of history that he can always have. And a good Sebastian Vettel is good for F1 because it means there's another talented driver, one of the best to do it in the sport, in the business. He looks competitive again. He's really kind of, come on to things, he's been doing brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So it is fantastic to see for now. The Aston Martin strategy was so useless. They were waiting for a safety car and Stroll crashed. I don't know, because Sebastian Vettel, was still running P4?
Sorry?
Vettel was still running P4, right?
Was that an infinite comment?
Yeah, I think he's trying to buy. And you just know. And with Stroll, he was on the harder compound going on to the soft compound at the end of the race when all the others would have been struggling on a hard compound. So, I think there is definitely strategy wouldn't be something I would have a go at Aston Martin for this weekend. But yeah, Vettel was brilliant. Do I want to see Dunlop, Yokohama, Kumbo, Hankook, Toyo as new supplier? I mean, they would be interesting. Hankook tyres only go down in the junior series and go. But yeah, Seb had a fantastic GP. He was brilliant, wasn't he?
Yes. Enough said on Aston?
I think so.
Which moves us on to the final team.
I'll let you go on the first one. You go.
I have nothing to say.
No?
I have nothing to say. It didn't happen. Max Verstappen won. Max Verstappen won the Baku Grand Prix. Fantastic drive from him. Faultless. I can't say anything more. Checo came in at P2. Great drive from him. Solid.
Weren't faultless in the pits though, were they? Because Checo probably should have been leading the Grand Prix on the overcut.
Was it a mistake or was it team orders?
Tinfoil hat. Back on.
To be fair, I was thinking, so random points touched on Checo's pit stop, but I was thinking, would Red Bull team order it if Checo was absolutely blitzing it? And maybe they did. Although it's quite difficult to deliberately muck up a pit stop perfectly to still get him.
Yeah, there was nothing about it. It was a terrible coincidence, but Checo had still done fantastic that even with a slow pit stop, came out ahead of Lewis Hamilton and then defended brilliantly against him for the entirety of the race. And I know Lewis had kind of was in the inferior car, but at stages, Checo had, he had to struggle against Lewis, who had tyres that were already up to temperature.
Yep.
And later on in the race, the tyre wear seemed to have worked a little bit better in Lewis Hamilton's favour.
According to AWS.
He made it brilliant. Yeah.
Max Verstappen, I will finish up on Max. He drove faultlessly. Got unlucky with tyre blowout, though. So, pretty strike again.
Infinite. I know you're sad about Lewis Hamilton, but if you were to say that there was any fault in Max Verstappen in that crash, when Pirelli themselves gave a window that they were operating and they weren't in that window to potentially blow up, I think that's a little bit wrong. I'm not even going at Max. Good. Hi guys, back in a nutshell. Good to first pit stops, then a yawn fest, sprint race at the end saved it. Wasn't the best race of the season like everyone makes out, was just a nice podium. Look, I think F1 is in this bit at the moment that it relies on chaos, but I think that's what street circuits are. They can always change at a moment's notice. You know it's not going to be an overtake fest. You know there's not going to be loads of wheel-to-wheel action just by the very nature of it. And with Baku, the majority of overtakes are just going to be DRS overtakes in the slipstream, and then DRS go from
there. I actually just enjoyed the race.
But I was enjoying the race as well.
enjoyed the race up until the red flag, and then I didn't enjoy it. Maybe that's because my guy was leading the race, and maybe I enjoyed it more because of that. But I just actually generally enjoyed the race before the red flag. It didn't need the carnage for me to get out of a good race.
I think this is the balance of where you go, especially in F1, which is an engineering series. that
if I want to see overtakes, I watch IndyCar.
Yeah. I just don't think lots of overtakes don't necessarily make good racing.
Yeah.
Because you can have loads of DRS overtakes for position and there's no real kind of skill to it. I suppose the skill comes getting in a 1 second window and then using that DRS to overtake. But it's quite a heavily strong overtake aid from there. I think some of the best races are, even if it doesn't turn out for the leader to overtake, will they overtake? A really challenging and well fought hard overtake goes from there. I just wanted more battling up front. When Hamilton got jumped by Red Bull, I thought we had a fight on our hands, but it wasn't coming. Yeah, I guess so. But I don't think the Mercedes wasn't great. Mercedes are very good at prioritizing race weekends in their calendar.
Yeah.
And minimizing damage.
To be fair, we got more of a battle than we nearly did have. If Mercedes didn't sort it out with Lewis's car, it would have been even worse if you wanted that Lewis Max battle. Because Lewis was almost not even near that front. But they got it together in the final setup for qualifying.
Infinite. Aren't IndyCar overtakes just DRS overtakes without DRS itself? Well, obviously on ovals, it's a very different style of racing. Yes, the slipstream is powerful, but there is also skill to the slipstream and you planning when to overtake and when to move and how you use other cars on track. And also when you're on the road and the street courses, they have push to pass. But a driver only gets a certain limit of that and how they use that in attacking and defending. I would say that's a lot more driver skill based. I'd love a push to pass system in Formula One as opposed to DRS where they can use at any point on the circuit, because I think there's a lot more driver management and a lot more driver skill in that than just get within a window, significant advantage over.
Yeah.
In that
situation. They basically have that in the RS.
Yeah,
they have DRS on top of that.
Yeah, essentially.
But before we get sidetracked with looking back at the weekend as a whole, Checo Perez, absolutely fantastic. He did what Red Bull needed him to do as the second seat, is just be
He's
there.
Cursed!
Be there fighting. He fought all the way, kept Lewis behind, and he was there to pick up the pieces if anything went wrong with Max, which it did.
Yeah, look, I think what sometimes as fans we can get carried away from is making... I think, obviously, I believe I've probably been guilty of this in the past as well. We can look at one race performances and make definitive claims from that. You've got to look at the whole picture of how the season goes from there. Like a lot of people were saying with Checo, he struggled at the start of the season. But, you know, he was adapting to a new team and you looked, a lot of guys were struggling. A lot of people were writing off Sebastian Vettel saying that he was still poor, you know, in Aston Martin when Lance Stroll was kind of outperforming the first couple of races. It takes time to adapt. But, yeah, as an overall picture, when they signed Sergio Perez and they go, look, here is what we want from you. One of the big, massive highlighted goals they would have is maximize performances when Max cannot do well. And by winning the race, he very much did that.
He had a fantastic start, overtaking he got past Pierre Gasly, and who was the other car he got past right at the beginning? Was it Carlos Sainz? Sainz up there? He got past two cars at the beginning, two great overtakes at the start. And he was also nursing hydraulic issues around about half the race.
In which his car literally got stopped pretty much as soon as he crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
Into the kind of pit lane exit. It was kind of crazy.
It was also the reason why he had a bit of a slow restart was because he couldn't warm up his tyres properly, because if he started weaving too much on the formation lap, he probably would have broke the car. So that's why Lewis jumped him a bit at the restart.
Sainz and Gasly. Thank you, Carola.
There we go. So, yeah. fantastic racing, Checo.
Yeah, and it
Not an
is,
easy one.
He just exactly is fulfilling the job that he needs to do with Red Bull.
Yeah.
In this race. But it will only be good for the constructors, like we said. That is a big one for Red Bull to do. If they cannot get the Drivers' Championship competing against someone as good and as great as Lewis Hamilton, and Mercedes will be making sure that they at least do that. They at least get the constructors. And Valtteri Bottas, has been put under pressure. He hasn't really been kind of put under pressure to support Lewis since 2017, 2018, and neither seasons were particularly great for Valtteri Bottas in those. In 2019 and 20, he was the only kind of serious challenger to Lewis Hamilton, and he did okay in those seasons.
Yeah.
But Valtteri he's coming up short for him. In the car he is in, he should be up the field, and not every track allows overtakes. When he's not on par, he won't be so fortunate. That's true. Absolutely. Look, Checo's qualifying does need to improve. It is his weakness.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And, he did very well in Imola, but his good qualifying performances
I will say,
are too far.
His qualifying at Baku, he was the one punching the air for Max on the first run. Max was punching the air for Checo in the second run, which obviously Checo never got to complete. So we don't actually know what Checo's true qualifying pace was.
And I think in Monaco was the same. He never really got to put in a proper flying lap in Monaco, though he struggled there anyway.
Yeah, I do. I just know. I know with this race.
Bottas should be coming in his prime, but he's more inconsistent than ever. Like I said, I think with Bottas, who's
that boss?
Yeah, I think with Bottas, it is just I think he's mentally broken. I think there is only so much a driver, because Barrichello even got to the stage at Ferrari. There is only so much someone can take. And this is his 5th year at Mercedes. And it's very obvious that Mercedes is never going to be Valtteri Bottas's team. Valtteri Bottas is just part of that machine. And he's been an important part for Lewis over the past couple of seasons. And for Mercedes in securing the constructors. But it's never going to be his team like Lewis Hamilton. And he doesn't have... I think Valtteri Bottas is a nice guy. I think if you sat in a room with him, it'd be great. And his pace is clear to see in qualifying, usually. He had a stinker, but I think that's it. Even his qualifying is going. And I think with his qualifying going, that shows that mentally, I think he's just done with it. Because in fact, and we're a part of this because we openly criticize, but at least we're not going at Valtteri Bottas on Twitter or Instagram and commenting on posts. Like every Mercedes post is going, get George in the car, Valtteri, if he's going on there. Like the clip yesterday, I think someone clipped it and shared it on Twitter of him losing those 4 spaces in 2 corners on the thing. He is getting battered week in, week out, and not even his team are defending him anymore. Because Toto even put some part of the blame. And I thought that was really bad for Mercedes.
Yeah.
I think it may be, but Valtteri Bottas right now, and I think it was in 2019 where he actually did have a very good start to the season. And then Toto was publicly going, we're not sure whether we're going to keep Bottas contract-wise. And he went on a dip of form. Yeah. Go from there. But yeah, I think he's just gone. I think absolutely he's just gone.
He's just gone, mate.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Sam. I think criticism is fair, all right, and that's fair. Look, you can criticize, but it goes beyond when people are saying Valtteri Bottas is shit, basically. And let's be honest, everyone in this chat, us two included, are never going to be at the ability of Valtteri Bottas in a Formula One car.
Yeah.
He is, to get to F1 and be in F1 as long as he's been in, there is a top level of talent about him, but he has been in the most dominant car in probably F1 history over the course of these 7 years. And for that, it just hasn't...
To never convert a title challenge, or put together, title challenge.
Yeah. And we don't know what goes in between teams. It may be, you know, Valtteri Bottas may come out of books and he'll say, these are all the things that Mercedes put in place to make sure that Lewis Hamilton got all the favours. A bit like, you know, Fernando Alonso has experienced in teams in there. But at the end of the day, he just is short of that talent of a world championship driver there. And that's no fault to him, because Lewis Hamilton is one of the best drivers of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and he's got to be one of the worst teammates to go up against. But yeah, I just think his time is... Bottas is no Webber. I'll be honest with you, Mark Webber probably gets overhyped. I liked Mark a lot. But, you know, in 2010, he fell away from it. He put a more serious title challenge than Valtteri Bottas in 2010. But, you know, when the Red Bull was utterly dominant in 2011 and 2013... he wasn't there.
Nowhere.
He didn't finish P2, and at least Valtteri Bottas has that to his name in 2019 and 2020. Was it 2019 he finished second, didn't he?
2020, he only just got second there.
Yeah, I know it's nothing from there, but I think, you know, it's maybe a little bit harsh to kind of say that in comparison. I would like to hear the story from his side after he retires. Yeah, I'd go from there. Also, it could be as well like the pressure of Mercedes too much. I don't think it's that, Craig. And I don't think the pressure of Red Bull was too much for Gasly and Albon. Like I've said before when I spoke about that one, Gasly and Albon were two inexperienced drivers going into a top team. And they weren't ready for that challenge. And it's different because when Charles Leclerc went into Ferrari in his first season there, it was a very good car.
Yes.
And it could compete for race wins. And Lewis Hamilton has always been in a very good car. And when he went into the 2007 car, it was the best car in the championship.
Yep.
And he had a lot of testing beforehand.
Yep.
Like goes in there. So I think it's slightly harsh on Gasly and Albon. I just think it was right team, just wrong time. Go for it. I think the pressure of the media and fans can even be worse than the team. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going for that. Webber was only close in 2010. Yeah, there we go. To be fair, I think George is potentially the best in the grids, but I wouldn't like to see him as Hamilton's wingman that much. But this is what we kind of feel. I was saying it earlier. Do we know how good George Russell is?
No. Not in the top.
I know Bahrain, the Sakir GP.
Yes, but that was an easy circuit that you could easily adapt to.
Yeah, and I know the uncomfortableness of ones he was struggling to fit in because Hamilton is smaller than him. He had to go through it. It was still a very impressive performance from George Russell.
Consistently.
But we don't know how good George Russell is over the course of a season, because Max Verstappen is doing a fantastic job and he's doing what we go. But there have also been moments of kind of pressure where it's come and not capitalising when on top. Not Baku, obviously, because that was out of his hands, but like Bahrain at the start of the season. But in fairness, he's been pretty flawless other than that. Max has been great and Charles Leclerc has been great. And I think, you know, George Russell would be on that level, but we just don't know at the moment. And being in Williams for as long as he's been, with how uncompetitive they've been, actually just hinders him from there. Hello, is there?
Hello.
52-year-old Tackman would destroy 31-year-old Bottas in the same time. I can't believe it. Welcome. George Russell cannot race on a Sunday. I think George would do a better job. We all think he would, but I think George would, just because he hasn't had all the mental crumbling that Valtteri Bottas has had.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there is only so much a human being can take in terms of being told consistently that you're not good enough. And Drive to Survive showed that kind of thing. He was so, even though deep down he would know he only won Sochi last year because of the penalty to Hamilton.
Yeah.
he was so excited to be it, and he felt like it was huge for him. And like go for now. So if he went to say Aston first, who else is there who could take the Mercedes seat? There's a lot of drive. I think Pierre Gasly, you could put in that Mercedes seat now, and I think he would do a very good job.
I'd say don't write off Esteban Ocon. I know you may not immediately associate him with that Mercedes seat, but Toto is still his manager. I know he's got a contract at Alpine, but contracts mean nothing. Toto knows him very well. It would be a very good relationship if he brought Ocon in. He'll make a very good number 2. I think Esteban would actually be a decent shout for Mercedes.
Depending on how long Hamilton wants to race, Ocon's probably the smarter move, and then finding George Russell another seat other than Williams.
Yeah, someone like a Gasly or Russell will be like a Nico Rosberg. They'll be fighting Lewis for the championship, which with Mercedes keeping Bottas for so long, it doesn't seem like Mercedes want a second driver attacking Lewis every race. They want a guy that is the rear gunner.
No, that bring back Hulkenberg. In fairness, I don't think if they were doing a short-term deal, I don't think Nico Hulkenberg's the worst guy they could put in there.
I think Ocon's better. I think Ocon will be a much better fit for them.
I'd agree.
Maybe more expensive because they'd have to buy him out of the Alpine contract.
I don't know. Would he? Because, well, I suppose Hulkenberg wouldn't be able to demand as much as what he was doing. Hulkenberg was one of the most expensive drivers on the grid when he left.
Okay, yeah. So
I think Hulkenberg, you would get a more consistent. You have more of a guarantee. You still don't quite know how Ocon would go in, but I think Sam sums up perfectly. He's young, but also experienced. But yeah, David, I would love to see Scott Dixon and Lewis Hamilton fight it out in F1 for a season in that Mercedes. I would love to see it, but it would never happen because I genuinely think, Scott Dixon and Lewis Hamilton, in terms of achievements over the last 20 years, they're on a level. They are both incredible. In terms of championship drivers, they are the best championship drivers that have been in the sport in the last 20 years in terms of that. And it's difficult. Each series has their own quirks, but I maybe slightly rate Scott Dixon's achievements higher just because of the consistent caliber of challenge that he's had to come up against.
And he's been in the same car as everyone else.
Yeah, and Chip Ganassi...
Near enough.
...aren't Team Penske. Team Penske are essentially the Mercedes. But, yeah.
If you want the equivalent, but it's not really.
It's so difficult to judge.
They're very similar, the cars in IndyCar.
Yeah. But yeah, he can race on Sunday as we saw in Sakir, but Williams' race pace sucks. But the key to be a champion is consistency, though, and we can't know how consistent he would be in a top team yet.
Yeah,
I think absolutely go for now. Yeah. Over the course of the season, they won't be fighting Lewis. Lewis is not Fernando Alonso, who let a rookie show him how much race. Infinite, I know you're a Lewis fan, but I think that 2007 season gets overhyped so much of going, well, rookie Lewis Hamilton beat Fernando Alonso and goes from there. Look, there's a lot of complicated inter-team politics in how that worked. And actually, Lewis Hamilton was probably far more settled in that team than Fernando Alonso. Fernando had to shift very much from a Renault car that he was used to into McLaren. Lewis Hamilton had been with McLaren since like 13, 14, since he was signed. He had loads of testing in that McLaren car before he went into it. And at the first opportunity, when push came to shove, Ron Dennis was all Team Lewis. So, look, I get it. I do get it how a lot of people like to say, well, rookie Lewis Hamilton did it. It was so impressive what Lewis did in that season. But I think there were a lot going on behind the scenes that didn't make it as simple as just Lewis. And he didn't beat him outright. He got more wins. They leveled on points in terms of that. He's not like he's blitzed him from 40 points and completely embarrassed him, is it?
No. But that's 2007. We're in 2021 at Baku.
Absolutely.
And we are nearing the end of this episode of the F1 podcast. Any final thoughts from the weekend?
Infinite, this is probably a chat. I'll tell you what, when we've got like a break, maybe in the summer break, we'll have a chat about F1 topics and go from there. What I will say, it's not as simple as Fernando Alonso was a two-time champion. Yes, it is still very impressive what Lewis Hamilton did, but it isn't as simple. And pretty much from Hungary onwards, Fernando was kind of pushed aside in the team. All favour went towards Lewis Hamilton in the team. All right. And Lewis Hamilton wasn't being the goody two shoes that everyone makes out. I mean, Aldas actually did a very good video on it about Alonso's toxicity, where he mentions a bit about it. He starts to cover that well. And yeah, I think if you listen to Mark Priestley, you know, there were bits going on that made it a very difficult year for both drivers.
Final thoughts on Baku 2021.
Great race. Great race.
Yes. And I don't think it was just a great race because of the carnage. Well, okay, maybe the carnage made it a bit of a great race. I feel it was a good race even before the carnage.
Mm.
And we had a pretty good podium as well.
The championship's alive, and it is the FU podium.
Yes, you never explained that.
Sergio Perez, FU Aston Martin. I'm winning races with Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel, FU Ferrari. I'm on the podium. I'm not done yet with Aston Martin. Pierre Gasly, FU Red Bull, third podium since I've left you. What? Bring me back. Nah, don't want you, mate. I'm going to go smash it. Gonna smash it. But yeah, gutted for Max. Absolutely gutted for Max.
Yes. Any final thoughts in chat?
Old Seb back. I think it shows that Seb is still able to be competitive now that he feels the love of Aston Martin behind him. I think that was probably the fair point to say.
Cara was saying, great race, gutted for Max, though. Love the podium. Craig was saying, brilliant race. Would love to see a double header at Baku.
Yeah, that would be cool. Vettel is winning the title next year, not biased. Are you sure, Sam? Are you sure you're not biased? Great race, solid Baku race, 9. Wow. Great but solid race is a 9. Unbelievable.
Great but solid.
And I can see an unbelievable race.
Great but solid.
Great but solid. There from there. But guys, thank you so much as always for joining us. As always, the chats, I know we go off tangents, and by tangents I mean I see a comment, get triggered usually by Infinite, and go off kind
90% of the time by Infinite.
90% of it. But as always, it was great to kind of discuss the race with you. Any final thoughts on you, team?
No.
We're done. We're out of it. Get lost.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. Get out.
I don't want to talk any more about Baku, but I'm going to talk about fantasy as well.
You know what? We've got the best track of the season coming up next.
Come on, Paul Ricard. Come on.
Paul Ricard.
Love it.
Woo.
Oh, so fantastic.
Yeah.
So glad it's back.
Viva la revolution.
Woo.
Woo. Pierre.
Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly 1-2.
Ocon. I think that's it.
There we go.
Did we end it okay?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Was that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there
smashed it.
Paul Ricard should be demolished?
Sorry? I think you misread that comment. I think you were saying Paul Ricard should be a second version of it should be made. 2 Paul Ricards.
Gianni's bringing out Hamilton overrated again. No, stop it. And on that note, for UF1 fans, keep racing.